Hi, this is Ernie Fazio. The show is Earnestly Speaking. Today I have the pleasure of talking to John Cameron. He's the managing partner and founder of Cameron Engineering. And he's also what do you call your title over there? At
the chairman of the Long Island Regional Planning Council. Ernie.
Chairman of the Long Island Regional Planning Council. And you handle some pretty big issues, anywhere from, rail to water quality, anything like that, don't you?
Yeah, we actually we get involved in really overseeing issues that affect the sustainability of Long Island, which includes its infrastructure, its tax and governance structure, the economy, issues of equity.
What is the nature of the power of your organization?
Well, to tell you the truth is, while by charter we're established and we are an arm of both counties, and it's a 12-member board that has 4 electeds on it, 2 town supervisors and 2 mayors, respectively, from each county, and then we have 8 at-large appointees.
Are you strictly advisory?
We're advisory, but we're actually have the advantage, I think, of sort of the bully pulpit. We deal with issues on a regular basis. In essence, we have monthly meetings dealing with significant issues that affect the quality of life on Long Island. So as a result, we do have both the business community as well as the environmental community and a lot of the other stakeholders.
Do you have any interaction with the educational?
Absolutely. In fact, about 2 years ago, we did we had an education working group that we had worked with representatives from the School Superintendents Association, Parents Teachers Association, NICET, the Teachers Union, as well as we had representatives from government, et cetera. And we had a 9-month working group where we actually dealt with the issues of what we believe are one of the major issues affecting Long Island, which is its unsustainable tax burden. And as we all know, about 2/3 of the taxes that property taxes emanate from school taxes.
Now, how can we mitigate that?
Well, it's a challenge because there's a number of issues that have been sort of put forth. People talked about consolidation. Frankly, if you looked at it, the issue of consolidation, it's not the silver bullet that everybody hopes it will be, because my firm we've done consolidation studies for the various counties, and if you look at, we've done water districts, sewer districts, garbage districts, et cetera, but basically where you have independent taxing authorities. And by pure consolidation, you can eliminate a lot of the, if you will, the upper echelon. For example, in school districts, you may eliminate some superintendents, assistant superintendents. But unfortunately, what we've seen is you're only going to realize really a couple % reduction in the overall cost, especially in areas or businesses or districts where the primary cause or cost is labor. And unless you do something about the labor, you're still going to have the teachers and the teachers' aides, et cetera, which, frankly, they emanate from a lot of federal and state mandates.
I've always been an advocate of paying our teachers really well. But the downside of that is if you don't have the ability to dismiss bad teachers, you're just holding on to
I think
of bad stuff.
The teachers union, which while they've done a wonderful job and represented the interests of the teachers, I think they can tend to lose some credibility when they become obstacles in removing the bad teachers.
I could be a child molester and they would take them $300,000 in legal fees to get rid of me if I were a teacher.
Well, that would be unfortunate.
You know what I mean to say is it's not reasonable to.
No, it's not. It's I'm a private sector person. I've worked in government earlier in my career, but I'm a private sector person, and basically you sink or swim on your own performance. And in a capitalistic society where basically performance matters. I think that's what we need really more in our school system also.
I think this is a critical skill. A teacher is
absolutely. They're trained professionals,
and therefore you have a higher criteria, for performance than you would for say, let's say a carpenter who maybe is half as productive as the other carpenter.
Right.
But you know what? Different people produce different,
Sure.
results, and they're not. That's not as important as getting them, the low end of that group, out of the way, but teachers are preferred.
Well, the state education department recognized that, which is why they certify teachers. They are educating the future of our country, and they're entrusted with really our most prized possessions, resources, our children.
As old as you are, you don't forget the
Right.
teacher that impressed you.
No, absolutely.
I remember them.
Yes, I do too. And they were ones that not only, I think, were ones that were smart and educated, but they were the ones that challenged you. And I think we all remember the ones that challenged you, because for me personally, I started a business, built my business. I always say I learn more from my losses than my wins, but it's always, I think we tend to accomplish our most and achieve our best when we're challenged, and teachers can do that.
So is it something that we're going to be resigned to, that we're going to be paying these?
No, I think we need to look at some alternative structures. We're looking actually at some studies right now for both counties, looking at ways to possibly deal with our taxing structures to try and come up with maybe changing the paradigm and changing the model. You hear a lot about unfunded mandates, and in the school system, we learned that there are hundreds of state mandates that are not federal mandates on special education, et cetera. But candidly, once you start looking to cut any of those programs, there's always going to be somebody that's impacted by them. I think we need to look to find more efficient ways to accomplish this, and nobody knows better how to accomplish it is really than the school districts and the teachers themselves.
I think it's slim gains, though.
It's right now, if you look at it, the entitlements, and it's not just the salaries and benefits, but it's also, if you look at it, there's a lot of it's the manpower issue here. It really, when you start looking at it, that's really where the money is.
All right, now back in 1980s, mid the early 90s, before the time when Grumman collapsed, we had a lot of high-paid workers on Long Island making
Absolutely.
things.
Right.
Was that a different time in terms of our problems with the cost of school?
I think, what we've looked at is actually in the last 10 to 15 years, there's been a significant increase in the costs of education in relation to percentage of property taxes, et cetera. We saw that, and basically the curve turned up, had an uptick, and so there is a higher cost now for school education compared to what it was back in the 70s and 80s.
We're going to let that rest a minute, but I want to talk about some of the other things. What about water quality? Are we concerned about it a lot right now?
Absolutely. We should always be concerned. First of all, there's two primary issues of water. One is our drinking water supply, which comes from the ground on Long Island. We should absolutely be concerned about that. We're called designated sole source aquifer environment. In other words, that's our sole source of drinking water. So we really need to be concerned about what we put on the ground and what can percolate down to our drinking water supply. Secondly is our surface waters, which would be our rivers, bays, streams, and actually in lakes and oceans. Yeah. And there's a lot of attention being paid to that right now. We actually are co-chairing with the New York State DEC a Long Island Nitrogen Action Plan, which is dealing with the issue of nitrogen, in particular, not only how it affects groundwater, but in particular how it affects surface waters, because as we put nitrogen in our fertilizers on our lawns to make our plants grow, as it goes into our bays and into our rivers, it causes algae to grow, which can actually rob the oxygen out of the water. So nitrogen is a major pollutant, and we need to be able to control that if we're going to be able to have a sustained water environment here on the island.
Is there an opposition to your efforts?
No. The principle.
It's just a matter of getting to know what to do.
No. Actually, we have a good handle as to what needs to be done. The challenge is typically, you're not going to be shocked to hear it, is dollars. There's never enough dollars to do exactly what we need to do or do the total job. So right now, Suffolk County Executive Steve Ballone is moving forward with an aggressive sewering campaign to try and sewer areas where they're actually contaminating the groundwater, and that groundwater is going out into the surface waters.
We don't have the time to go into it in this segment.
Sure, but if I can, just in Nassau County, County's focus with the Bay Park sewage treatment plant trying to get their discharge out into the ocean. Those are two primary focus points for both county execs.
Is that a long-term reality, or we should be looking at tertiary treatment?
Well, tertiary, the nitrogen removal at our major plants would be tertiary treatment, which would be at the Bay Park treatment plant, or it could be at the Bergen Point treatment plant in Suffolk County.
And tertiary means almost drinking water.
Tertiary is bringing it to the next level, which is just before drinking water, and then you have some other contaminants which aren't in there.
All right, this conversation will go on. We're going in our second segment, but I'm talking to John Cameron. He's the managing director, partner of Cameron Engineering, and he's also the chairman of the Long Island
Regional Planning Council.
Regional Planning Council. But we'll be back in a moment. This is Ernie Fazio. The show is Earnestly Speaking. Thanks for listening. Hi, this is Ernie Fazio. The show is Earnestly Speaking. And we're talking to John Cameron. He's the managing partner and founder of Cameron Engineering. And he's also the chairman of the Long Island Planning Commission. Did I say it right?
Close. Regional Planning Council, but it's close enough. Close enough for government work, as we say, Ernie.
Anyway, we had been talking about the various things that can be done to make life a little bit better here on Long Island, but we want to know about manufacturing, sustainability, how we define the sustainability. In your mind, what is sustainability?
Sustainability, in my mind, means that we're able to exist today and utilize our resources without compromising the ability of subsequent and successive generations to be able to enjoy the quality of life that we've enjoyed today.
Do we have to limit population?
I think we need to be able to accommodate the growth in population. I think with our changing demographic, in particular, not only in the country, but here on Long Island, we have an aging population, which puts greater strains on our, if you will, our healthcare network, as well as it reduces the workforce in certain capacities. So we need to be able to accommodate a growth in population. In order to do that, we need to have an infrastructure which can provide necessary transportation networks, as well as be able to provide handle the water supply issues, as well as to be able to handle the waste issues, whether it be wastewater or solid waste. On Long Island here right now, we need to grow in the appropriate areas. Long Island's always prided itself as a single home based communities with the white picket fences, and that's still what I think a lot of people love about Long Island.
One of the things that California did many years ago is they made housing clustered tight together, and then they made open space around it. That model, does it work for us?
It can work, but in areas that are already developed, it's tough. So that clustered development still makes a lot of sense in our downtowns, whether it be in Nassau County or Western Suffolk, but you still do have out in Suffolk County, and whether it's towns of Brookhaven or Riverhead, Southold, et cetera, you have the opportunity for those clustered developments where you can actually have density, and then there are a number of developments which are actually being accommodated now out in Suffolk County where they actually do provide the open space.
Yeah. Suburbia to me was always a place to be isolated because, you live in your little house and the guy next to you lives in his little house. And,
right.
And we really don't talk to you, except for me that I'm a yenter and I'm out on the street a lot. And
That's
I'm
right.
always making something in the yard or something that I talk to people. Right. But that's unusual. And I think that's a socially... it's a detriment to our growth.
It is, if you stay in the house.
Yeah, I think you're a businessman. You're out there.
No, but also there are people that get involved. They get involved in their churches. They get involved with their children in the schools and the sports groups, etc. For me, one of the great benefits of Long Island is we love the people that are here, but you need to get involved. You need to get involved. That's part of life.
Well, I've always done that, John.
Sure.
And I think it's very rewarding. And now they tell me that because you interact with other people, it makes your brain smarter.
I believe that too. Interaction.
I'm not so sure I believe it.
Yeah, right. You wonder. It depends with the people you deal with, But like anything, if you exercise more, you're going to be healthier. You exercise your brain. I think the brain is healthier.
Yeah. So anyway, one of the things that I've always promoted, and you know this, was the maglev, and I felt that the maglev was a good manufacturing thing for us because it's got so many technical pieces to it that there are not a lot of regions around that can do what we can do.
You mentioned earlier, Ernie, about Grumman and the aerospace industry is that Long Island always prided itself as a high-tech environment with whether it was the engineering community, with the manufacturing community. We've sort of gotten away from that, and I think has made it more challenging here for the island. We're trying to attract higher-tech workers. Manufacturing still becomes a challenge because of the high cost of energy.
Yeah, and which could actually be changed by virtue of new inventions that are coming out of the center over at Stony Brook.
Absolutely. Whether it's
I had breakfast with Bob Cattell a couple of weeks ago. By the way, don't have breakfast with Bob Cattell. You get up in the middle of the night.
I know, he's an early morning. I do have breakfast with Bob. Wonderful man, Bob.
He's been a good friend for many years. But we were talking about what could possibly come out of that, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and visit there and see what technologies that look good and put them on the air.
County Executive Ballone is trying to champion this, we call it iZone Innovation Zone, which will tie in Suffolk County, whether it's Brookhaven National Lab, Stony Brook University, and as well as the hospital, University Hospital also, in conjunction with the whole corridor on Nichols Road down through Ronkonkoma Hub and down to Patchogue, is that we need to capitalize on really one of our greatest assets, which really is our educated workforce. We have it also to the west in Cold Spring Harbor Labs and North Shore LIJ, Hofstra University, and our university network here on the island.
We have a great wealth of intellect.
We do, but we need to capitalize on it. What Long Island has not done, and I've done some research on this, has not done a great job on technology transfer. In other words, taking the knowledge that we
Yakov has done some.
Yakov's done a great job, but translating that into real jobs. You look at what Boston's done, what Seattle's done, other areas in San Francisco. They've done a much better job. New York City's starting to do a great job with the computer science and the high tech, if you will, jobs they're creating in the city.
By the way, I had Leonard Pavaromo.
Leonard Pavaromo. We were the engineers for the Composite Center. So absolutely, Leonard's a great guy.
There's this tremendous potential for manufacturing.
Absolutely.
With what could come out of there.
Absolutely. The composites are, if you will, the next wave of material science where we can build stronger and lighter and more cost-effective solutions.
So I see a lot of optimistic signs.
There are. I agree.
If we don't have it all together yet.
But I believe that honestly, I think the last couple of years, I do see a movement in a positive direction. Also for starting to get some developments for housing our young workforce, which 5 years ago I'd say was not looking too good. We're starting to see a lot more happening. I think people are recognizing we need to embrace change. Change is inevitable. We just want to control the change.
John, and speaking of new modeling, you know what Walkoff has been trying to do.
Yes, over in Heartland Square.
I looked at that. I like it.
You know what? Ernie, what's going to be tough is it's to accommodate, you mentioned earlier about the growth in population. For us to be able to accommodate that, whether it's a young workforce or in our baby boomers, our empty nesters, we need to create some, significant development. And it's going to be tough to do all one-offs, and it's tough getting a project done. You can talk, Steve Ballone took him over 10 years to get Wine Dance approved, and Richie Schaefer is seeing it through.
And what Monty is doing over in
what he's trying to do in the Nassau Hub and in Village of Hempstead, Riverside, Huntington Station. There's a number of projects, with a number of other developers.
Projects a little harder to get going, but
once they can be very significant. They could be significant.
Yeah.
Jerry Wolkoff's project, and I believe we could hear some things in the next month or two with regard to approvals. That's a very significant project that is almost like a mini city.
But one of the things I've always addressed with all of them, even with Charles when he was trying to do that
for the hub, Lighthouse project.
I said to him, I support what you're doing, but you really don't have good transportation to that.
No.
And if you don't have that, it's going to create other problems.
Exactly right, which is why if you look at what Ballone and Angie Carpenter, the supervisor of ISLAB, are trying to do at Ronkonkoma Hub. Ronkonkoma is the largest transit hub on Long Island. And then you look at what's being done with regard to second track between East Farmingdale and Ronkonkoma. That's going to enhance the development there. You have the Tritech development going in Ronkonkoma. You've got Wyandanch on that line, and you've got Heartland Square on that line also. So that, in conjunction with hopefully we get the third track from Floral Park to Hicksville, we'll be able to move this growing population, this new wave of population that we need for our future employees, be able to put them on rail instead of the LIE and the parkways.
Well, I think mass transit back across the island.
Critical.
Absolutely
it's
critical.
Otherwise, we're not only going to...
I was out at a conference in Montauk, and my wife, Jane, when I was, years ago, she says, I want to come out and spend the night with you. I says, okay, get the see, there is no train.
Yeah, right. She'll get there on Monday for a Friday night event, so.
So, she finally got out there, but she says, what a hassle getting in there on a train.
But Ernie, if I may, the only way Long Island's going to be sustainable for long term is to grow our economy, our residential and commercial tax base. And if we don't do that, we're not going to be able to afford the taxes and the cost of living here.
You and I have to talk more about that. We'll do another show on this 6 months or something like that, and we'll see what...
Love to do it.
Where we've gone. This has been a very enlightening, I hope, for our audience. But I'm talking to John Cameron. He's a managing partner of and founder of Cameron Engineering, and he's also the chairman of the Long Island Regional Planning Association.
Council. You were close. You get a B+.
Thanks for listening.